It's Saturday, May 23rd, and our topic today is going to be talking about the SpaceX IPO and how they think they're an AI company. Sports news from Sam today is a little bit interesting and got some more stuff to kind of cover rather than just reading his words from his space or from his this morning text. It's worth noting that I realized I can make a good thumbnail with Gemini for these videos, so expect the thumbnails to just be out of control in the future. And let's start with our sponsor. If you've never heard of them, Builder.ai is now gone, but they were a $1.2 billion valued company that told people, hey, you can build an application the same way you can order pizza, was kind of their pitch. And essentially, when you bought their services, it asked a team of real people in India to build your application, but described it as being AI, which in this case, the AI stands for actually Indians. That's our sponsor today. If you want to buy merch, then you should go to AT&T.com and try and find a shirt because we're going to be talking about AT&T a little bit today, but going to sports news with Sam. So I've got it here on my phone. Usually I have this pulled up, but who cares? Habsburg game two in real trouble. Jack Eichel of the Golden Knights is playing incredible. Thunder win again. Bench outscores starters through 3 games. Spurs have injuries. Donovan Mitchell has to have a huge night, or the Cavs are going into the night. He said quietly into the night. However, it's not really quietly. It's like, hey, we really struggled after the third quarter of game one into the night. Teddybridgewater bill, and this is what we'll cover a little bit more, in Florida is going to really create haves and have-nots in high school sports. Schools might even start hiring based on bank accounts of a coach and not their ability to coach. Give lazy booster clubs and inept ADs an out for the actual doing for actually doing their job of finding solutions. The way we hire coaches in general, you have to question what it's based on versus ability because I don't know how much ability I have, but I've been hired, and really it might be how you define what good coaching is. So there's that piece of it. And having deep pockets usually doesn't tend to integrate well to be a good factor in saying, hey, this person is a good coach. But here's what happened. Teddy Bridgewater, former NFL quarterback, he's a Florida native, went back to coach his high school alma mater. He was paying for things like meals, transportation, bunch of other stuff for his students, his players. He said, I think the quote was something around sometimes it was as much as $6,000 a week. Now, you have this problem of, all right, he has a lot of underprivileged players. Having money is a key part of being good at sports. There's a book, I think it's called Soccer Economics. If you look at some of the best soccer players, they had to have enough money in order to be good, right? Like if you're from an area where you're malnutritious, where you're not getting enough food, then that's going to be a problem because you're not going to be a good athlete if you can't grow bones, right? And so we talk about, hey, like soccer is a world sport and everybody can do it, but they studied like there is a minimum amount of money you need in order to have a chance of being a professional soccer player at any level. And that's the case for football, right? Like if you can't make it to practice, you're not going to get good enough. So if you're working at Safeway for 10 hours a week so that you can make ends meet for your little kids and make sure everybody has food for your little kids, your siblings, right? Then you're going to have trouble. So Teddy Bridgewater spending a lot of money and that's hard because you can say, hey, this is an underprivileged area. Along with, you can say, what are you really paying them for? And how does that change who you put on the field or who you hire as coaches? There's just a litany of things. So the bill that was passed allows coaches in Florida to spend up to $15,000 out of their own pocket to help players. I don't think the help is clearly defined in the bill. This is just something I don't really know a ton of, but that's what is happening. It opens the doors for so many different things. I don't know if any other states have something like this in their laws. It's a law which goes beyond just kind of the boards that handle associations for states. Like in Colorado, we have CHASA. They don't have laws. They have bylaws. It's not like the state comes, and I'm sure there are some that are state regulated or whatever, but it's not a bill that was passed into law. It's this is the association, and I think it's kind of like we all agree. I don't know the fullness of it, but this opens up a lot of doors that are interesting to me, right? Like, and I think if you're Teddy Bridgewater, again, we've talked a little bit about very competitive people do whatever it takes to win. He was a NFL level quarterback, right? Like you don't usually get to that level without having a lot of competitiveness in you and a willingness to do whatever it takes to win. Now, that doesn't always mean like off the field you're a terrible person or something like that, but competition is it's something. It's a good thing, and it kind of changes people to do certain things that maybe they wouldn't. And as a coach, you feel that level of competition, right? You feel the competition sometimes more than all of your players, certainly a lot of times more than many, at least half the team. Usually, you can feel that way. So that's the Teddy Bridgewater stuff. We'll see if there's more updates from Sports News Sam's. Our topic for today is covering a lot of things with SpaceX. So, SpaceX, we talked a little bit yesterday about how much does all this AI building cost. SpaceX, they're when you file an IPO, when you plan to offer a public offering of stock on the stock market where people can invest first, I think that the valuation they're looking for was like $1.7 trillion dollars or something, which I think would immediately make it the most valuable company on the stock market. A lot of their perspective says stuff like our aim is to expand consciousness into the future or to different planets or something like that. It's a fun one. And the video shoot you should watch, this is kind of a too long didn't watch, is Patrick Boyle. And I think the video is like SpaceX IPO, nice try. And I'll put that as a card at the end of this so you can just click it. However, the short thing is one, there's all this weird financial maneuvering that's happening, even to the extent that SpaceX is buying Cybertrucks from Tesla. So I'm just imagining like people who work at SpaceX, like, oh, we got to take this part over there. Okay, let's all get in our Cybertruck, put it in the back, and drive it over there. I just can't imagine that they have a need for it was something like 200, maybe I don't know more Cybertrucks along with whatever other services Tesla is providing. One of the things that they have listed as a revenue source is providing compute power to Anthropic, who creates Claude, and Claude can end that with 90 days notice. So within one quarter, just a fiscal quarter, you could lose, I don't remember how much it was, but a portion, a big enough portion of revenue that they added on their financial reporting. So here's the big one that was worth interesting to see, and it goes back into the history of like Grok itself and XAI, and even touches a little bit on why Musk has been so cranky. I think, and the lawsuit between OpenAI, Altman, and Musk was actually kind of an interesting deal. More so now, I think, after seeing these financial numbers, don't have time to really get into that a ton, and I don't think we ever will. That's not really a preview. However, OpenAI or excuse me, Grok claims that it has about $818 million dollars in revenue every quarter right now through Grok. And if you've used Grok and you know that maybe for a month ago, last year, it was maybe the best, and now it's just garbage. It's behind Claude, GPT, Gemini, probably behind Meta, Llama, and maybe even like the Chinese ones like DeepSeek. It's hurting. It's in last place, really. And so even Musk in a tweet said something like, "Hey, we've messed up Grok and we're retraining and starting from scratch." And like, by the way, this was with Tesla. But the big thing is with Tesla, like we all knew how to build a car. Yes, whatever you were saying you need to fix and needed to fix and go back for, there was a blueprint. Like we've been making cars for a century. We've been making LLMs for a decade ish, and making good ones for maybe 5 years or so. And so to say like, hey, we're going back to the drawing board on something we're working on the drawing board. And so here's the kicker is they are taking, in my opinion, and my guess is just based on how they're doing a lot of their financial circulation of legitimizing themselves to nobody, because you can probably see right through it for anybody, is they're using subscriptions from Twitter where people pay to have like their blue check mark on Twitter. They also get access to Grok. So I think they're treating that as part of Grok's revenue, which essentially means my guess is about 100 million at least of what they're reporting with that $818 million of revenue from Grok is just coming from people paying for Twitter. and has nothing to do with Grok. It was about 400 million, or about half, that they spent on providing that service. So when you go and you ask Grok something, it costs Grok money. So they're making 800, and half of it is being spent on just providing that service. And then they are spending something like $10 billion a year right now to train Grok to get better. And again, they're starting from scratch. So from a financial investment point of view, perfect. And so that's kind of the first place where we're seeing, okay, a large company is spending $10 billion. How much more is OpenAI? How much more is Gemini? And that's that's a chunk of change for SpaceX, and it's all lost, right? Like, I think they are also saying they're losing $12 billion a year, just with Grok itself. And they put it under SpaceX, Musk put it under SpaceX so he could keep funding it. Now, here's the thing: if you go in trying to invest in SpaceX, you're really in your head thinking about, hey, I want to invest in sending people to Mars and whatnot, which is way down the road, 5 years probably at least. Like, it could be longer. I don't know. I'm not worried about rocket ships in this talk, but what they're pointing out is essentially three separate businesses that they are, or revenue streams, or whatever, their core pieces or pillars of their business. For SpaceX, they're talking about putting things in space. So launches, launch vehicles, putting stuff into the sky. Space internet, which is the only thing that they're making money off of, is Starlink. And what you really should be as a SpaceX investor saying, oh, I want to invest in that, because that's the only place they're making money. And that's the only thing you as a person probably really know they're making money from. And then their Grok, which has, I don't know anybody who's always been thinking like, oh, SpaceX, I want to invest in them because they're building Grok. No, I've never heard anybody even think that thought. I've heard them think that. Nobody's thinking that. And so here we are with SpaceX saying, hey, we're an AI company, at least from what our perspective says, before we let you invest in our company. The investment stuff is crazy. Again, this is going back to, you should go watch that video. It's 30 minutes long, so I'm probably going to cut it off here because this is getting long already. However, there's all this financial backdoor dealing. There is, Musk could never be outed from this board or this company and would have full voting control over it. They are when they kind of open up the covers, you're looking at the internet piece of it being, again, the only place that they're making money, and making pretty good money. If you were just investing in that piece, it'd probably be a great investment. There's some problems with how this is going to end up into a lot of retirements. This is on the edge of being just like a massive pension 401k retirement scam, just by how fast they're trying to put it into major indexes, which you can't get away from when you're investing. Major indexes are a huge portion of everybody's retirement portfolio. That's it.